beautiful co-creators. Lilou here on a Juicy Living tour. Today I'm in Orlando with Mike Dooley. Hello.
Jambo, Lilou, good to be with you.
Good to be with you too. A lot of people know you from, of course, The Secret. You were featured in The Secret years ago, and this was a very successful movie.
Yeah.
And you run a successful, how can we say, company doesn't even fit, because you have actually 500,000 people, right, that you send. I remember those notes of the universe.
Subscribers, and all of that began about 12 years ago, 6 years before The Secret, and that's kind of how Rhonda found me. But it's come a long way from really humble, really timid, really scared beginnings, which has helped me formulate what I now teach, deliberate living, throughout my notes, my workshops, my seminars, because I'm sharing with people what I went through from the lowest low, starting my life over in almost every regard, using these principles of the universe. Thoughts become things. We are divine creators. We are literally the eyes and the ears of God, and whatever anybody wants, they can have, if they know how to press the right buttons and pull the right levers, which is an overstatement. It's much simpler than that. Thoughts become things. Just don't mess with the cursed house. Don't attach to unimportant details, and don't insist on specific people behaving in specific ways. And then
trust.
Trust.
Yeah. Whatever comes.
Grounded in these truths, these absolute truths, these unwavering, non-negotiable truths, which are so benign and so simple, but you've got to know what they are. Otherwise, you trip over yourself. You start doing the universe's job, worrying about the hows or the logistics, which your brain was never meant to deal with, and you get psyched out, overwhelmed, and think it's complicated when in fact it's so easy.
So what is really our job then about?
Our job is simply to define what we want in terms of the end result, as if it was already done, not worry about the house.
That precise, though?
Oh, that's a great question, which kind of opens up to what I teach now. I teach that we ought to define what we want in terms of the end result, keeping it general, which at first glance seems to contradict what so many others teach. I do teach about getting into the details. They're awesome, they're glorious, they're sexy. They get us excited about the vagueness of the generality that I said ought to be our end result. But by keeping general, we leave room for the magic. We untie the hands of an infinitely creative universe that always knows the shortest, quickest way. The universe knows. Divine intelligence that puts the stars in the sky knows who your best travel partner will be, your soulmate, your business partner, what your bliss will be, what will set your soul on fire. It knows, whereas generally we don't know. So as long as we give it marching orders by telling it what our general priorities are, career, work that I don't even call work, a new best friend, improved health. If you give it general marching orders like that, it knows how to fix it, twist it, change it, step it up, make it happen really fast. If you keep it general, which is simply saying leave room for surprises. If you insist on this path, or on that bell and whistle, or on this person falling in love with you, you've eliminated an infinite number of even better possibilities. So you asked, should we keep it really specific or that precise? Be precise in the definition of where your priorities for change are, but keep it general. I want more money. I want more fun. I want more laughter. I want improved health. Then, step 2 of my Playing the Matrix is get excited about the changes you're going to be experiencing by visualizing the details. Just don't attach to the details. Leave room for surprises. Visualize, a certain person or a certain car being in your life, but leave room for surprises. Don't insist. They have their own agenda. They have their own ideas of what's the ideal partner. So give that to divine intelligence. And then step 3, the final step of Playing my Matrix, deliberate living, is showing up. Just as simple as that. Like your life is such a perfect example of, you just go there, you just stick your nose in every opportunity, you knock on every door, you turn over every stone for the magic that you've commissioned with your general end results, for the passion that you've generated for being excited about the details without attachment. That's easy. And for those 2 steps, the magic is swirling around you. All that needs to be done at that point is showing up, doing the humble little baby steps that always always seem insufficient compared to what you dream of. The champagne and caviar, but you're going to a job you hate at the mall. Go anyway. Just not for the intention of staying there forever, but because by going to the mall, going to the job, doing something, anything is better than nothing, you're now reachable. You're a lightning rod to miracles. And then you're going to continue to knock on doors. So you're going to go to that job you hate, but you're going to check out the want ads, the Craigslist, the internet, and prepare to be astounded.
So it's like being already in movement, in action, gaining a little bit of momentum, kind of like the surfer analogy of catching that wave.
That's perfect, because once you spark it by showing up, you do gain that momentum. And one of my favorite Seth quotes, Seth was dictated by the late Jane Roberts, was something to the effect of, the upward spiral takes off with a momentum all of its own. And as my life can attest, and so many others, yours as well, all of a sudden, the phone is ringing off the hook. All of a sudden, you need somebody to help you balance and choose from the great opportunities that are coming your way. Whereas before, it was like total famine, and you were just kind of showing up, knocking on doors. Nobody wanted to see your face or hear your words. The next thing you know, you get an email from Rhonda Byrne says, "Would you be in The Secret?" And you're like, "Rhonda who? Rhonda what? What's your secret?"
Yeah. What's the switch then? Because a lot of people try and obsess on things, and it's even worse than ever. It's really not coming. When does it really, like, all of a sudden the flip is on? What do you think that is? If there is a defining moment?
The defining moment is always crossed invisibly, and you don't know when you crossed it. The person listening or watching right now may have crossed it yesterday, literally, but they use their physical senses to interpret the journey in themselves. This is the forbidden fruit, the original sin, using your physical senses to interpret life. And they draw the conclusion like, it's not working. It works for everyone but me. I must be self-sabotaging myself. Those declarations undo what was working. So to get to that tipping point, you never draw conclusions based on what your physical senses are showing you. Just because you can't see the miracles doesn't mean they're not happening. That's step number one. Step number two is you keep showing up because it is working. And every single day you are getting closer. It is getting easier. Whether you see that or not is irrelevant. You live in a magical world, a dream world, where all things are possible. Here we are on the Disney property right now, where dreams come true, they say. The truth is, this whole planet is an oasis in the solar system where dreams come true, thoughts become things. It is the law. It doesn't matter where you've been, where you are today. If it's not pretty, that's okay, because it's not who you are. You're infinitely more. The world is your oyster. You're inclined to succeed, pushed on to greatness every day once you wake up and you learn these simple, basic truths, these pillars that I teach, that everybody teaches, so many people teach.
Yeah, and the two big words: love yourself.
Love yourself. Thank you. Oh, there's a lot of two big words.
No, because this is an important one. Love yourself, because I've noticed all those negative thoughts that still go through my mind, and now I just have this loving, just like kind of like embracing it with love, and just like it's okay. And each of these thoughts continuously like bathing them in love.
That's so good. That is probably the ultimate golden key. Love yourself. But some, like at times in my life, hearing that, it's just like, could you ask me to do anything else but that, please? It's like, love myself when I'm not happy with my weight, or I'm not happy because I'm broke, I've got credit card debt, I have no idea how I got here or how to remove myself from it. So the ultimate advice of loving yourself is hard for those folks. It's been hard for me at times in my life. In which case, I would say, don't set the bar that high. Just understand the truth. Your thoughts become things. You don't have to know how you got where you are to know how to move forward. The way you're going to move forward is define what you want in terms of the end, the new life. Your job is not to figure out how you're going to get there. Your job is to define it. This is why vision boards and scrapbooks are so powerful. Once you've defined it, visualize it. Get excited about it. Happy dance in the dark, alone, once a day. Take the weekends off like I do. And then every day, show up. Do stuff. And this is when, because you're showing up consistently, little tweaks, little miracles happen that you can't see with the naked eye. It's like, the new person, the new best friend, they're being drawn closer to you, but you don't see that. Doesn't mean it's not happening. And eventually, as you continue showing up, this is one of my biggest lessons beyond understanding the truth, is just constantly showing up, because then you're no longer waiting for that pot to boil. It's like you got somewhere to go, something to do, and it distracts you, while the universe can then slip in between the lines and transform your life incrementally, invisibly, day by day. But you get to a point where all of a sudden you look back over your shoulder and you're like, how did I get here? You know, what role in my measly efforts, my mortal self, seemingly only mortal self, what role did I play in you know, I'm starting my 4th world tour now, friends on every continent, spoken on virtually every continent but one. I mean, I don't want to sound like
80,000 friends, Facebook friends.
You know, it's all so good, and it's like, it seems like you wake up one day and it's like that. But until that day comes, it seems like you're at the opposite end of the spectrum. Nothing's happening for you, nothing to be excited about. Must be something wrong with you. Can't move forward until you figure out what it is. Lies. You don't have to figure anything out except how life works. Thoughts become things. Let your end results be general. Get excited about them with the details and show up. Yeah. It's like, that's all anybody has to know. And then you have to live it. You have to show up. Show up even if it looks like it did yesterday. Show up even if this month looks like it did last month. Keep showing up. This is any big success story, any success story at all. They kept showing up. And
one of your quotes, one of your quotes with actors and famous people, well, they started their journey. The one thing that is common is that they started their journey one day.
Yeah,
I can't quote it exactly.
Yeah, it's a quotable card now too. The one thing all famous authors, storytellers, athletes have in common is that there was a point in time when they were none of these things. Every single one of them, they have that one thing in common: they were nobody. There's no exception. They were all nobodies, but yet still they started. You know, they started being nothing, but yet still they started. And it's like, anybody can do that. Nothing else is required. We're pre-approved for the life of our dreams. We're not here to survive. You know, we use our physical senses, or we watch the Discovery Channel, OD on the Discovery Channel like I do, and we tend to think, oh, that's life, it's tough, survival of the fittest. But if you just pause and think about reality, in the height of our naiveties right now as a civilization, we have still blown the lid off of survival. I mean, nobody practically, in relative numbers, in the world today is aiming to survive. You know, they've got their back to the wall or whatever, but we're all surviving really great. In fact, if you look at commerce, if you look at the internet, if you look at technological breakthroughs, if you look at how spirituality is emerging, it's like on every front, we're busting through. We've blown the lid clear off of surviving. And when you get that that's in your DNA, that literally we're pushed on to greatness, we're God come alive in the dream of life, the eyes and ears of the divine. When you realize that, and you're not here to be tested, judged, and sentenced, all of a sudden there's this optimism that starts surging through, this euphoria, really. You see The Secret, you see a speaker, or you read a book, and you're reminded of what you already knew, and you become unstoppable.
But we're also reminded of the catastrophe with what's happening on the earth, and the wars, and the problem in Africa, and the problem of paying the bill, and all of these things that jump at us. What is your secret when you see really those? Like, it can be very more than saddening. I mean, it could be terrifying.
It's horrible, some of the things that happen in the world. There's no question about it. But that's not a fair or reasonable justification for not seeing all that good that's happening in the world. I mean, here we sit in the lap of luxury, you and I, and we're surrounded by hundreds of thousands of people who are doing the same thing, and I'm not denying that there's excruciating, hideous pain that happens in every corner of the world. And we can address that, and we can talk about that, and we can all do better in wiping that out. But simultaneously, there are billions of lives being unfolded, being lived right now, while not all in opulence. There's joy, there's family, there's laughter, there's growth, there's healing, and there's so much wonderful happening. It'd be a shame to not to take notice of all of that. Yes, we need to do better taking care of the planet. Yes, we need to be far more responsible financially in our government institutions and banking. We've got a lot of problems, but we've got a lot of strengths, and we've got a lot in our favor, and we just, you know, keep doing what we can each do individually, it'll be enough ultimately, collectively, to wisen up, be responsible, and therefore really engage our power. Where we're headed, oh my God, it's so exciting. Look at how amazing things can now be. Not always. They not always are, but look how amazing things can sometimes now be on planet Earth. And we've got our heads in the sand, almost every one of us, with fear and distractions. Can you imagine when we pull our heads out of the sand, when everyone supports everyone, when everyone has true tolerance and allows a difference of opinion, when everyone still wants to be engaged instead of feeling like they have to go there, but they want to go there? It's like, I don't even think we can imagine how great it's going to be when we get out of these primitive, spiritually speaking, times that we're now in. But this is serving the purpose, and it's making that possible, and we'll be bulletproof, so to speak, when that day arrives.
2012, we're end of 2012 right now. What does that inspire you?
It does inspire me, and who hasn't heard of all of the Nostradamus prophecies and many, many, many others who have shared a lot of wisdom. So I think they're speaking to change, and we all know that's coming. I think at the end of the Mayan calendar signifies the beginning of the next Mayan calendar and the beginning of a new age on time and space, an age where we will awaken, as we've just been speaking about. The single most exciting time to be alive would be in the transition. Anybody can be. And where's the thrill in being born into opulence? There's no adventure there. How about being born into primitive times during which, in a single lifetime, you cross this threshold in consciousness where the lights come on and you realize your power and you can do something about it? That's like, as I tell my audiences, a Friday going into the weekend, Sometimes the sense of anticipation is even greater, and that's what I feel right now for where we're headed. We're all pioneers, every single one of us. And that we can perhaps, some of us, as you're doing, as I'm attempting to do, shine our light on to the paths of others. It's like, wow, it doesn't get any better. And when everybody's living in a mansion and has full bellies, we're gonna pine about these days, the wild, wild west, when it was so outrageous, and feel our greatest sense of pride when we kept the faith, when it was so easy to give up the faith, when we kept showing up, when it seemed like absolutely nothing was happening, when we weren't reminded every day by the world around us of our supernatural divine powers. We were told the exact opposite, yet we prevailed. And that's what's going to really be like, oh, I want to go back to the wild, wild west.
Yeah, and that's what we're really grateful for, I guess, with what you went through, what you had to go through, and now where you're at every day. You thank God,
Yeah, it's one of those ironies, and I put this in a note from the universe once, for all those who want love, for all those who want abundance, for all those who want health, for all those who want all of these things, that means there must come a time when none of those things exist. And it's when you're in those times that fosters the dream, but too often it fosters a complaint. It doesn't work, it's not right, it's not here, I want abundance, I don't have it. It's like, the reason you don't have abundance is so you can go get it. The reason you don't have health or whatever it is you now want is so you can show yourself and others by example that it's doable. So the system's working perfectly, and any lack in your life isn't proof that the system's broken. It's an opportunity to discover and go where that person has never gone before. So it is that thing, and I bless those days. I look back with the greatest fondness. In my mind, there's little Mike writing a little note from the universe that's going to like 36 people. It's like, oh, am I deluding myself? What happened to my life? I used to work for Price Waterhouse. I used to do this, that, and the other. And now I'm like, starting over, and I don't even really know what I'm starting. But I kept showing up, and I kept dreaming, and I had the vision boards, and that's all that life's magic needs to help to connect the dots for you.
Thank you so much, Mike. It was
great to be in your company.
It was so awesome. I hope we can do this again. Thank you. You live in Orlando, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I'm right.
This is your home?
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Much blessings in your life again, and thank you for your inspiration and showing up. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, mes délicieux co-créateurs. Plein de bisous. Much love from Orlando, Florida. Bye-bye.